Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, Josh, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, where we love to talk to you. Call us on the hotline. It's 412-575-2600. Bob Pompeani joined by Chris Mueller up at 93.7 The Fan, the PM team. And Chris, Duquesne's the only local team left now that could do anything potentially to get to March Madness. Pitt was eliminated today, although they played well, I thought. They were down 1 at halftime, shot the ball very well, got 3 career highs along the way, and yet NC State was just too much. They made more shots, so they go on and win. And now the question is, what happens with Jeff Capel? Your thoughts on that after 8 years, 1 NCAA tournament appearance, 1-time Coach of the Year. A lot of money involved in this. Where do you think this decision will end up going?
I think he's coached his last game at Pitt. I think that's what it should be. I think that's the right outcome. I know that from what, I shouldn't say I know, but from what I've heard, the buyout for a contract that is supposed to run through 2029, 2030 is somewhere north of $10 million for Jeff Capel. He's making $3.6 per season. And I just think that it's time for Pitt to move on. He has not generated results. It's a results-based business. I don't really want to hear about this recruiting class he's bringing in next year. Recruiting now is more about NIL dollars and spending money wisely and almost having a GM build a roster than it is a coach attracting recruits. He just has not proven that he can actually get teams to play at a consistently high level year in, year out, even with turnover obviously being a big thing on every roster. And just bottom line, the results haven't been there. And really, Bob, to go back and sort of pick at an old wound, Heather Lyke is no longer here. She has been in hot water lately in the news in her role at Syracuse. And I think she did Pitt a huge disservice with the way she handled both Jeff Capel's, kind of marginal or moderate success, and really Pat Narduzzi's slightly better success, but overall track record of just being kind of a middle-of-the-pack ACC team. She handed out lengthy extensions for no reason to both people, and neither one of them, especially Capel, obviously. I mean, Pat has done a much better job by comparison, but neither one of them has really delivered the kind of results that would warrant that level of commitment and that term of commitment. And Pitt's paying for it.
I would agree with that. The question is, you pay a buyout like that and you still have to come up with NIL money. Pitt doesn't have a whole bunch of big, deep-pocketed backers, and they're going to need more of those people if they're to move on. As far as Duquesne, they'll play tomorrow against Rhode Island. 5 o'clock game over at PPG Paints Arena. This Duquesne team pulled out a great game the other night when they were down by 30-some points. It was 38-8 at one point. They came back and beat Richmond. So now they have a chance to do it, and we'll see what happens in that game. That's a 5 o'clock game, and there are 4 games. A lot of basketball coming up this week if you're into it at Atlantic 10. I want to ask you about the Penguins last night real quick before we get to the big NFL story. And the Penguins come away with a point. I thought it was a good point considering where they were late in the third period. They were being outplayed in that third period, and that was against what had happened, I thought, in the first 2 where they led 2-1. They're down 4-2. Pull the goalie twice, score twice, get a point. Then that old bugaboo happened again, the shootout. They couldn't score in overtime. To me, the key was just like it was on Saturday, Chris. They had a 4-on-3 in overtime, could not convert, and then they lose in a shootout.
Yeah, once the games go to shootouts, we can just chalk them up as losses. I mean, they're historically bad in that department. Even teams that lose as often as they've lost in the shootout tend to have more wins than they do in the shootout, and they just don't. I give them credit for battling back against one of the best teams in hockey in their building, even though there were some pretty vocal Penguins fans there that you could hear on TV, and getting at least 1 point out of that. Brian Rust continues to be, I would say, one of the more underrated Pittsburgh athletes of probably this century, I think I can say. Just continues to be around all things good that are happening. Well, they don't have Crosby. Well, they don't have Malkin. The fear there was in that game, they were playing pretty well through 2 periods, and then Carolina just so quickly asserts itself in that quick stretch in the third period to get the lead back, and then they take the bigger lead. To get a point scratched out of that situation, given what the situation is behind them in the Metro standings and just generally how much of a fight it looks like it's going to be to get these playoff spots locked up, I thought that was a significant point. It almost beggars belief that a team that has been otherwise this consistent is so bad in what should be, granted, no Crosby, no Malkin, so a lot of your top-end talent's not there, but in the overtime situations, it should be so much more to the Penguins' benefit, and it just isn't. That format just does not work for them. And as great as Dan Muse has been, that's like a small but somewhat significant thing that's held them back this year.
The good thing, if they get to the playoffs, they don't have to worry about that. Just a 5-on-5 overtime, and they've been a pretty good 5-on-5 team. When we come back, we're going to talk about Max Crosby, headed back to Vegas for now, but what do you think lies ahead for him? We'll get into that. What happened in Baltimore, Eric DaCosta's statements today, all of that coming up, plus your phone calls at 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, and we're back in a flash.
There is no recourse for the NFL to go after the Ravens. And furthermore, even if this was just we decided we didn't want to do the deal and we pulled back from the deal, there is no physical that mattered to us. Like, we just didn't want to do it.
Right.
It might be really bad form. They're allowed to do that, though.
Right.
And I do think there was some stuff afoot. Yeah.
Really, I mean,
no, but people seem to think like they should be punished, and I'm like,
I just
for
think
what?
the league needs to. The league, probably because of pushback by some other GMs, are going to have to take a look at this and try to figure out, you know, what does happen in the future when this happens. I don't know how, but they're going to have to probably do it based on some of the.
And here's the other. Well, Bob, let me just say this. Like, they're going to have to do it based on how mad some GMs are. GMs are still going to do business with the Ravens if they feel like that's in their best interest. And here's the problem. And I can speak to this, Bob, as a full meniscus repair in my left knee guy, just like Max Crosby. You're not going to be able to find, even if there was a smoking gun, like, it would be hard to have somebody leak that and then have the league say, we're going to change all of our rules because we found Eric DaCosta being so shady. With what we know about Max Crosby's knee, yes, the Ravens, I'm sure, knew exactly what the timetable was supposed to be, but they're going to have the plausible deniability of, yeah, we were told by the Raiders what this was and how long he'd be on crutches and everything else. They can still very reasonably say, I don't love saying this, but it's the truth, hey, we got to look at the actual MRIs or everything else, and we didn't love what we saw.
Right. It's our own individual
there's never
doctors
going
who
to be
are looking
some
at
pound of flesh here.
Absolutely.
And the Dallas doctor didn't like the knee either.
And
so
if their medical staff said that, then they have to believe that. I agree with you, though. I never thought for one moment they're going to have both of those guys, and they seem to make that out to be the case. All right, let's get to the phone lines. A lot of people want to talk tonight, beginning with David in Finleyville. Hello, David. What's going on tonight?
Hi, Bob. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, how about trading for Kyler Murray and giving the Cardinals a 6th-round draft pick, and they would give us Kyler Murray and a 7th-round pick?
Well, they don't even have to do that. He's released, I believe, and therefore he can sign with anyone for $1.3 million. And I'm sure Minnesota still is the leading candidate there, but it's very interesting to me how this quarterback situation here in Pittsburgh is playing out, that we don't hear anything now. And he would have thought by now, Aaron Rodgers, I suppose they know, because it doesn't make any other sense if they're going to move forward here. They got to know at some point, don't they? And I would probably think they probably already know.
I hope they already know. I mean, I don't want this to be the solution. I don't want it to be Aaron Rodgers, but the idea that they would be led around by the nose and genuinely have no idea what his plans were and be sitting here in the dark not doing anything, I think would be a really bad look for them. Pretty pathetic look, if I'm going to be honest. You're being held hostage by a guy who looked feeble in his last game for you last year and looked for all the world like a quarterback who was done. Murray's going to go to Minnesota. Kirk Cousins, I think we had Mike Flory on today, Bob, and he said that should be the Steelers' plan A is Kirk Cousins. Not that exactly inspires confidence.
I don't want to see that.
Well, I think he's probably better than Aaron Rodgers at this point.
But
he's
Kirk 38. I'd rather if I'm going to do that. Eventually, they got to figure this out here.
All right, Aaron Rodgers might have to have a walking stick to get out to the field this year. But bottom line for me is Kirk Cousins now is being bandied about as a guy who can help mentor Fernando Mendoza, and the Raiders might be after him. It seems like they have to know that Rodgers is coming here. It seems like they are content to wait. That is going to put a damper on what I thought were some otherwise encouraging moves with Pittman and Jamel Dean and free agency. I liked where they started to build and the way they started to build. But if you have the same guy running back as the conductor and you're just allowing him to dictate terms for a second straight offseason, I think that's a tough look.
It is. All right, back to the lines we go. Let's go to Phil in Dormont. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? I just got a question on the Steelers, why they didn't sign the punter from last year. He had a 45-yard average. He only had 3 touchbacks, and I just was wondering, it was strange that they went back to Cameron Johnston.
Well, it was Cameron Johnston's whose job it was when he got here back in 2024. He got a 3-year deal, and then I think it was week 1 where he hurt himself and he was out for the season. That brought in Corliss Waitman. I don't know what the, eventually, I think, will there be a competition with these two? Is Waitman still on their roster?
No, he was a free agent after last year, so he's not on their roster. I don't think there's going to be a competition. I think it's Cam Johnston's job. And I mean, I thought Corliss Waitman was sometimes better than average, but in balance, like a bog standard punter. I don't think he was some special weapon for them in special teams. So you also are remembering here, Bob, and I think we all have to get used to this still. It's a completely new coaching staff. It's not Danny Smith anymore. It's not Mike Tomlin. It's not his people. And so there might have just been a desire on the part of the new coaching staff to want Cam Johnston back based on what he had been prior to this injury he suffered in 24.
And he played, and he seemed to have regained what he was doing here, so they liked him back then, so they liked him again. Kip in Beaver Falls is next right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Hey, Kip.
Thanks for taking my call. Two quick questions. If Pitt decides to let go of Capel, do you think Andy Toole has a chance to be their head coach? Secondly, why in the world don't the Penguins give Chris Letang chances on that shootout? He's been historically one of their best.
Yeah, I thought, yesterday, first of all, I thought Chinakhov had a great chance. He made a good move, and he just lost control of the puck. He would have scored there. But I agree. I think Letang should be doing that. He has normally a pretty good move that works there. But regardless, they still got to make more saves, and other guys have got to score. As far as Andy Toole, I'd certainly talk to him. I don't know what their large plan would be. They may have bigger names on their list, and I'm sure Alan Green, if he's going to make a deal, already has a list in place.
Three names I know Pony brought up today. Herb Sendek, Penn Hills guy, obviously, who's at Santa Clara now. Jarrett Calhoun, who's at Utah State. And I am completely blanking on the third name he brought up today, but Herb Sendek would probably be a guy who would work cheaper than the other guys, and since it's really about roster and not what you're paying your coach in a lot of cases, maybe that wouldn't be the worst idea. Personally, I'd love to see Andy get a shot at it. I think if he had won the Horizon League again and gotten into the NCAA tournament, that would have been something to more strongly bolster his case. The one thing you know about him, and it's at a lower level, I get it, it's at a mid-major level, he has turned over almost an entire roster year over year and still got within 2 wins of the NCAA tournament, only bringing back Prather as a guy who was playing significant minutes last year. So clearly he has adjusted on the fly to the new reality of college basketball better than Jeff Capel has. I think they should at least talk to Andy Toole.
Yeah.
Like I would do that. I think the guy can really coach in game. I know that Robert Morris's season didn't end with maybe some of the best strategic decisions, but I wouldn't let that get in the way. I think the guy's a good basketball coach, and right now what Pitt needs, if they do move on from Jeff Capel, and I almost say when, because I don't think there's almost any chance he's back, they need a good basketball coach. Bob, did you feel like Jeff Capel, and I know you're a hoops head like me, so I know you probably want to ask me about Bam Adebayo too in the next couple of minutes. Did you feel, though, watching Pitt play under Capel for the most part, like they were a team that had these strategic answers when they needed them? Because I never did. I liked Jeff. I wanted to see Jeff succeed, but a lot of times it just felt like, well, are his guys making shots? It was never a lot of easy stuff and a lot of good in-game decision-making by Jeff Capel.
I agree with that overall. I think he knows talent, and I think he brought some here. And, next year, supposedly a good class and all that stuff, but it's got to go beyond that. I do like Andy Toole and what he's been able to do, given all the changes they make. And, a good basketball coach is a good basketball coach. Hypothetically, if he would come here, he would cost less, I think, or be willing to take less just to have a prove-it situation here, and he may be inspired to do that. We got to take a break. We'll come back with more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. Let's go back to the lines, squeeze in Will from Newcastle before we go. Hey, Will.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Go ahead. Make it quick, please.
Paul? What's that?
Make it quick, please.
Okay. I think they shouldn't wait on Aaron Rodgers anymore.
All right. So what would be your plan B then? Will Howard, or will you bring in Kirk Cousins, or will you try to do something else?
I like the Kirk Cousins idea. I've heard about it, but I would like to draft for the guy from Alabama.
Yeah, but he may not be there. Ty Simpson, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I don't think they'll take a quarterback in the first round anyway. I still think they're going to take a wide receiver. I'm going to stick to that. Bam Adebayo, yes. 83 points last night. Apologies to all the other callers who couldn't get on. We'll try to get you on tomorrow. But, Chris, there was something shady there as well. I'm sorry. 43 opportunities to go to the foul line. Tremendous game he put together. But his career, he never, I mean, what did he average? 16 points per game.
16 a game.
83 out of nowhere.
That was awesome. They did a bunch of contrived stuff to get Kobe to 81 points. I don't want to hear it. I got Ludwig Oberg to win the players, and as a long shot, Harry Hall, Bob. Harry Hall.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to take Justin Thomas. He hasn't won in a long time. I have a feeling he may put it together this week. You caught me off guard there. I need to look deeper into this poll of players. Thank you very much, Chris. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys all here tomorrow at 10:35. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good night.